Okay, welcome back. In this example 3, we're now going to look at a sine function in this form. Okay, meaning we have parameters for a, k, d, and c, and you can see those respectively here in the equation. This is just going to ask kind of the same questions we did last time: amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift, and then graphing from 0 to 360. Okay, let's get this one started. So my amplitude, well, I know the a value is equal to -2. Therefore, the amplitude is 2. We don't want to say -2 because remember, amplitude is a distance. We don't need to make it negative. So when you're writing out the amplitude, just ignore the negative sign. Okay, we don't want to forget it's there though, because it is going to have an effect on our graph. What is the period? Well, k is equal to 3 in this example. Okay, there's k. It lines up with this here. So that means the period is equal to 360 over k, which would be 360 over 3, which is 120 degrees. So that's the distance for one cycle. Is there a phase shift? Yes, there is. I know that d, the value right here, okay, it must be -30. So that means it shifts left 30 degrees. And lastly, the vertical shift, well, c is -1. Therefore, shift down 3 units. Sorry, 1 unit. Shift down 1 unit. Okay. So this actually tells me where my center line is, where the middle of the graph is. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and when I start graphing, I'm going to put that down first. So remember, we start with the center line, c equal to -1. So I'm going to graph that right here. Then I do the amplitude. So a is equal to 2. So that means my maximum is going to be 2 units above the midline, so that it would be at +1. This will be my max value because that shows an amplitude of 2. And same with my min value, I got to go down 2, so I'd be at -3. Okay, you can actually think there's kind of like a formula for this, the maximum. You could actually say the maximum is equal to the value of c plus the amplitude. Okay, my minimum value is always going to be c minus amplitude. All right, next is the period. So period is 120 degrees. All right, so we're supposed to graph all the way from 0 to 360. So I'm going to mark off 360 here. Okay. Our period is 120 for this graph. Notice 3 of those will fit within 360. I know 3 of them fit because k is 3. Remember, k also tells us how many cycles fit within 360. So I'm going to get 3 full graphs. So first thing I'll do is I'll chop this into thirds. So kind of about right here and about right here. Okay, those will be increments of 120, 240. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So each one of these is going to represent a cycle. So there'll be 3 cycles. Each cycle, in order for me to graph, I have to chop into 4 pieces. So I'll chop this into 4. So first I cut it in half at 60, and half again I get 30. So those are increments of 30, so I can kind of fill in the blanks. Okay, so do the same thing over here. We're going up by 30, so I'll have 150, 180, 210, and then same here, 270, 300, 330, and then 360. So I can use those to plot all my points. Okay, so I'm almost going to be ready to graph. I still have to do the phase shift, which was 30 units left, 30 degrees left. So that kind of works out nice, 30 left, because I have increments of 30 in here. So each point will just move over one. All right, so in blue, I will graph these three. So we'll start by, remember, sine always begins at the middle line and then goes up, okay? However, this says -2, right? So when a is negative, remember the graph reflects along the x-axis? So that means instead of my sine graph starting from the middle and going up, it has to start at the middle and go down. So I can kind of map out all my points like that. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So my next point would be at the middle again at 60, and then the max at 90, minimum at 120, and then at 150, back to the middle. And I just kind of keep following this pattern. Okay, notice I have 3 full curves. There's the first one. There's the second one. And there's the third one. Okay. So I've actually kind of taken care of everything. The -2, the 3, the -1. All that's next is the phase shift. I always say that for the end because I feel like there's a lot going on here and it's hard to keep everything in your head. Now that you've drawn it, go ahead and do the phase shift. Move each point 30 degrees to the left. That'll be exactly 1 tick. So I'm going to go ahead and make my x-axis carry out this way a bit. So each point will move over 1 tick, so that would end up right here. This one would end up here. Like that there, it goes over to here. This one will move over 30, so that would be over here. This one up here moves over to there, so that'll go up here. You guys get the idea. I'm just going to move all these over. So I know the question does say graph from 0 to 360, and I kind of have my graph starting from -30, which is okay. Also, because this is periodic, we know how to predict the next term. I know my next minimum would be there at 360, so I can finish that off like that. Okay, so that concludes our lesson for 5.3. Hope you guys have found these videos helpful. I will see you later.